the God that they used to walk with, they now run from. They used to hang out with God. They would be kicking it with the Lord. And all of a sudden, they're hiding because they're exposed. God asked 3 questions. Verse 9, where? Adam, where you at? Verse 11, who? Who told you you were naked? Verse 13, what? What is this you have done? Now let me explain something. God doesn't ask questions so he can find out answers he's not aware of. Okay, let's get that straight. He's not asking questions so you can give him data that he does not know. The reason God asks questions is to promote self-examination. He wants to ask you the question so you can answer it for you. He wants to see whether you're going to tell you the truth. Stay with me here, because he already knows the truth. But whether you want to see, because what we want to do is, because we can't handle the truth. What is this you've done? I made a mistake. No, I think it's a little bit deeper than that. We don't want to answer the question outright for what it is. Sinful rebellion against the holy God, against his commandment and his instruction. And so there was a spiritual death. What is this you have done? I know some of us are raising the question. All this over some fruit? Hey, come on now. Come on now. We got to go through all this over some fruit. No. If you get stuck on the fruit, you miss this. Satan said to her in verse 5 of chapter 3, if you eat the fruit, you can be like God. And you can know what God knows, and you can be your own God. You can be independent from God. You can be autonomous from God. So it wasn't just about fruit. It was about claiming my own deity. I don't need to do what you say, God. I'm my own God. I have to answer to no God. You're looking at it. So it was a God issue and a deity issue and a defining issue, no longer a dependent issue. And so there was spiritual death. And whenever we have broken fellowship with God due to sin, even if we're a believer, we died. We're not communicating, or we're hidden, we're not, God and us are not on the same page, no matter how well your fig leaves have been sewn together. Something else happened. He didn't just die spiritually. He died emotionally, and she died emotionally. Notice what he says. Verse 10, I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid. Because I was naked, so I hid myself. Wait a minute. He's now living a life of fear. Fears and emotions. Because I was naked, he's now living a life of shame. He's now knowing what it feels like to feel guilty for disobeying. So his emotions have been turned inside out, upside down, because there has been a death. Why? Because there has been a separation from well-being. You know how it is when you're feeling well emotionally, and you're happy and you're excited, and you're no longer nervous, and things are calm, and you are in control of your emotions, and they're not taking you every which way but loose, because you've been stable in your soul. But when something happens, when you've broken a law or the law, you know how it is to feel guilt and shame and to be terrified of what could happen. They're now living like this. And so they sow fig leaves. Some of us go to fig leaf councils, paying fig leaf money to get fig leaf relief. We go to entertainment to help us to forget the this gnawing in our soul that something is awry. We pop pills, Prozac and Valium, and to help me to get over this disruption in my well-being. We connect with people because maybe they'll help me to forget. We get on drugs to give me some kind of ecstasy in the misery that I'm feeling. We're sowing fig leaves because the emotions have gone awry. We have died in our emotional well-being. He says, I was terrified of you. The God I used to kick it in the cool of the day, in the pleasantness of the atmosphere. I am an emotional wreck. So I ran from God. Emotions went to shambles. Oh, but that's not the only kind of death, because remember, death is separation. Yeah, they spiritually died, which led to emotional death, and that led to relational death. He says in verse 16, to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you will bring forth children. I'll talk about that in a moment. Yet your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Are there any men here married to a controlling wife? You better keep your hand down, I know that. Because you used your role to entice him into eating the fruit. Talk about that in a moment. Because you used your position to entice him, I am going to amplify your desire to be the head of this house. How do I know that's what he means by desire? Because of chapter 4, verse 7. He says to Cain, if you will do well, will not your countenance be lifted up? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door, and it's, here it is, desire is for you. What sin's desire? To control you. So when he uses it of the wife, he's using the same thing. Your desire to control him is going to be magnified. So if you are married to a controlling woman, it is the curse at work. If she wants to be your boss, if she wants you to submit to her, if she wants to, and she may have come from a controlling, a matriarchal household, but he says, because you wanted to take the role and take his role illegitimately, well, we're going to let you see where that gets you. And I'll tell you where it will get you. He will rule over you. So now the question is, are there any women married to any domineering men? Any men who are verbally abusive or emotionally abusive or physically abusive, who say, well, you ain't my mama and you ain't telling me what to do. I don't have to listen to your advice. I'm the king here. I'm in charge here. And as far as you're concerned, you're a cook, a bottle washer, and you have no say-so. You being a helpmate is totally rejected because he reacts to your domineering and you react to his rule. And what you have as a curse is the battle of the sexes in the home. So you wind up fighting for everything, ham and eggs, and you wind up fighting for everything. He likes it cold, and she likes it hot, and she go to bed early, you go to bed late. Everything turns into World War III. Why? Because a death has occurred in the relationship. There's a death. Because death means separation. So now we want to separate, now we want to get a divorce, now we want to do all that. Why? We can't live together anymore. Why? Because there's a curse. It didn't start with an argument between the two of them. It started with rebellion against God. He just showed up in the argument alone. That's why when you sow the fig leaves of going on a vacation, you sow the fig leaves of buying an anniversary gift, you sow the fig leaves of well, let's talk. You sow the fig leaves. We trying to deal with this thing when all you sowing is fruit, not root. He says, notice what he says, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. Still talking about relationships. In pain you will bring forth your children. One lady was in labor pain. She was starting to moan a little bit. Okay, now the contractions are getting closer together. They're getting closer together, so she's feeling it more. And then when it just got unbearable, she screamed out, I hate you, Eve! Every time a woman feels labor pains, it is the reminder of rebellion against God and the pain it brings. But he says not only will you have labor in childbirth, but you will bring them forth in pain. You will have problems in child rearing. How many of us have had the pain of raising a child that rebels, starting at 2? Terrible 2s. Living with a teenager who rebels. But he talks about the pain of relationship. That this thing was going to manifest itself and spin out into all directions. There would be deaths of relationships. Many of you know that. Many who know the pain of the rebellion that started spiritually, but it wind up showing up relationally. Adam, he says he will rule over you. He will become this domineering person because of the sin. And so there will be a misdefinition of manhood in this. That he will define manhood by the street, no longer by God. Why are you going to do this? Why are you going to do this? Well, look at what he says. He says to Adam, he says in verse 17, because you listen to the voice of your wife. Ooh. Wait a minute. I'm not supposed to listen to my wife. Isn't she my helpmate? Yeah, until she disagreed with me. The closest person in your life is never to trump God. I don't care how much you love him. I know you love her. I know you didn't want to lose her, but when it comes to me, it trumps her. That the closest person to you is not to overrule me. Now, I know why he got overruled. Man got sympathetic. See, she come blinking them eyelashes. Hey, baby. I took a little bite of this fruit, and I don't want to go down by myself. So will you help a sister out and join me in my rebellion? Adam don't want to lose his wife. He don't want her to be judged. Because you listen to your mind. So here's the basic principle. Adam is responsible. See, the definition of a kingdom man is he's responsible. He didn't say, Adam and Eve, where are y'all? He said, Adam, where are you? Because I commanded you. And you were supposed to deal with it. By the way, man, Numbers chapter 30 says that A man is responsible